Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in, and boy, what a weekend, huh? And let's start with President Donald Trump addressing the nation on Saturday after successfully eliminating the nuclear threat that Iran has been developing for a number of years now. The world is reacting, and we have the latest details of the attack and what's next. Just hours before the U.S. struck nuclear sites in Iran, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, slammed Iran's UN representative as a wolf disguised as a diplomat during a fiery session of the Security Council on Saturday. And co-sponsors of the War Powers Resolution, Representative Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, Thomas Massie, a Republican from Kentucky, were quick to criticize President Trump for green-lighting attacks on 3 nuclear sites in Iran Saturday night. We have the latest on this resolution as well. And, of course, Bernie Sanders speaking at a Fighting Oligarchy rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Saturday night when President Trump announced that the United States had successfully attacked 3 nuclear sites in Iran, condemned the president, and also called the action unconstitutional, which is a common theme coming from the left. And here's the story of the day. A social media account known as the Pentagon Pizza Report reported on suspicious activity at the Pentagon an hour before the attacks on Saturday, all based on pizza deliveries.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Let's start with President Donald Trump, who addressed the nation Saturday night, hours after announcing that U.S. forces completed airstrikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran. President Trump asserted that Iran's nuclear sites were completely and fully obliterated in the address to the nation from the White House.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
The Atomic Energy Organization of Iran confirmed that the attacks took place on its Fordow, Isfahan, and Natanz sites, but it insisted that its nuclear program will not be stopped. Iran and UN nuclear watchdog said there were no immediate signs of radioactive contamination at the 3 locations following the strikes. In his televised address from the White House, President Trump called the strikes a spectacular military success and a historic moment for the United States, Israel, and the world. He confirmed that Fordow, Iran's deeply buried nuclear enrichment site near was among the targets and warned there are many targets left. His message was clear. Iran must make peace or face tragedy for greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. The president spoke about the years that Iran has terrorized Israel and the United States and other parts of the world, and how he decided long ago that Iran had to be stopped.
For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue.
The president went on to thank Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu and the Israeli military for their support of U.S. troops. And the President Trump thanked the U.S. military involved, calling their performance spectacular.
I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack.
And it was quite amazing, was it not? I mean, these pilots, it was like a 36-hour mission. When they left the Midwest, they flew 18 hours in the bombers before they reached their coordinating points where they synchronized with other fighter jets. They dropped the bombs, and then they flew another 18 hours in return to get back home. I mean, the president is correct when he says it was spectacular, because in everything that I've read, everything I've saw, all the reports, our military did exactly as it should have. Everything worked like precision. The president went on to talk about what's next, clarifying that while Saturday's mission was a success, that there are many other targets left, and that a lot depends on how Iran responds. And in ending his remarks, the president asked for God's blessing on the world and our country particularly.
With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Secretary Hegseth yesterday morning, in answering questions from the press and just going into a little more detail about the mission, again confirmed what President Trump talked with us about on Saturday evening, and that's just how these forces act with precision. I mean, these fighter jets flew as decoys before the bombers got into place. And all the reports indicate that they weren't even fired upon. There was no threat. I mean, it seemed to be a complete surprise by Iran. I guess when President Trump said that he'd make up his mind in the next couple of weeks, I guess Iran thought they literally had a couple of weeks. And boy, Were they wrong with that? So what's next? Writing for FoxNews.com, Robert McGinnis, a retired U.S. Army officer and the author of 12 books, including his most recent, Preparing for World War III, says that Tehran now faces a choice: capitulate or retaliate. And based on history, their ideology, culture, the odds overwhelmingly, according to Mr. McGinnis, favor retaliation. He says that surrender is antithetical to Iran's revolutionary mindset, that the Islamic Republic has endured war, sanctions, and sabotage. Its leadership interprets resistance as divine duty. This strike may have weakened Iran's enrichment infrastructure, but he says it will likely strengthen the regime's resolve and that there will be much fighting left to go. He predicts that there will be some regional attacks on U.S. assets, that there will be disruption of oil routes and strikes on other U.S. allies. We'll see. And we just need to pray for that maybe Iran will come to their senses.
Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
Things got pretty dicey at a UN Security Council meeting, and this was before the U.S. had the air raids wiping out Iran's nuclear bunkers. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, slammed Iran's UN representative as a wolf disguised as a diplomat during a very fiery session of the Security Council. This was Saturday, literally hours before the U.S. struck the 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Following the U.S. strike on nuclear sites, which President Donald Trump said had been totally obliterated, Iran's ambassador to the UN, Amir Saeed, demanded another emergency meeting of the Security Council, calling for condemnation in the strongest possible terms of the U.S. actions and for it not to go unpunished. The Iravani wrote in a letter to UN Secretary General, the Islamic Republic of Iran urgently requests the Security Council to convene an emergency meeting without delay to address this blatant and unlawful act of aggression. Iravani called the U.S. strikes premeditated and unprovoked. Well, I think he's right on the premeditation. I think they were premeditated. Unprovoked, he's stretching it there. They were far from being unprovoked. He also said that it was a flagrant violation of international law. Now, earlier, Danon, in response to similar allegations against Israel, highlighted the Security Council's hypocrisy, calling the Iranian representative a wolf disguised as a diplomat. How dare a representative of a regime that finances, arms, and orchestrates terrorism all over the world ask for comparison from the council, he said. Danon said during a council session on Saturday when he was asking for the council to look favorably on Iran, he said, "You're not a victim. You're not a diplomat. You are a wolf disguised as a diplomat, and we are done pretending otherwise." Following the U.S. strike on Iran, which included 5 to 6 bunker buster bombs dropped on Fordow, the nuclear site there, some 30 Tomahawk missiles fired against sites in other areas, Danon told Fox News Digital that after decades of ignoring the international community, Iran is trying to play victim and ask for sympathy from the Security Council. The Secretary General of the UN should be thanking President Trump for taking action and making the world a safer place instead of condemning the U.S. for promoting peace through strength, Danon said. You know, the UN is in a predicament here because they don't want to upset Iran too badly. At the same time, they can't afford
to condemn the U.S.'s actions, because the U.S. contributes more to the UN than any other country in the world. And don't forget, they're located in New York City. So the UN is going to have to tread lightly. The UN is going to have to try to keep peace between the U.S. and Israel, for that matter. Images shared by Israel's first responders showed multi-story buildings with their sides blown away and windows shattered and single-family homes in ruins as rescue crews searched the debris for survivors. This is after an Iranian missile attack on Israel Sunday, hours after the U.S. struck facilities in Iran. This obviously was part of their retaliation. They hit cities in Tel Aviv, Haifa, Ness-Ziana, causing widespread destruction, but no immediate fatalities, according to Israeli authorities. Israel's first aid agency, Magen David Adom, said that there were no initial reports of fatalities, but dozens were injured and evacuated to the hospital. Now, if you saw some of those images, it's hard to believe how people survived some of these blasts in these buildings. A lot of the images that I saw of these buildings, and again, these are buildings in Israel that received just a huge amount of damage after Iran attacked, after the U.S., of course, struck Iran. So where do we stand with this? And what do the American people think about this? I'd love to know what you think about it. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can text me. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com, and you'll get the very best deal that Mike Lindell has on all of his products, pillows, the Giza Dream Sheets, the towels. You're going to love the towels. Every single product, you'll get a discount when you use promo code Joey. But leave me a message. Text me, email me, because I'd love to know what you're thinking about the strikes. Because, to a degree, it's kind of, you kind of feel bad when you're celebrating that type of destruction, but at the same time, you know what Iran could potentially have done had we not stepped in. Now, prior to the attack on Saturday, we saw a poll that was just released by the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation Institute that shows nearly 2/3 of Americans support increased engagement in international affairs. This is the newly released annual summer survey. The survey is conducted by polling firms Beacon Research and Shaw & Company Research. It marks the third year that the Ronald Reagan Institute has conducted a summer survey asking Americans about their attitudes towards foreign policy and what role we should play. It found that 64% of Americans overall favor the U.S. taking a leadership role in international affairs, which is up about 20% compared to 2023. The trend of Americans leaning towards international engagement as opposed to isolationism has been growing support across both parties. And even the American First MAGA wing of the Republican Party, which leads the way with 73% support for greater international involvement, which surprises me because a lot of my friends who identify as MAGA, they want us to stay out of the rest of the world's business. They want us to put America first, take care of ourselves first. But it's not showing up in this Ronald Reagan poll. 69% of Republicans support the idea, as well as 65% of Democrats, the survey found, as far as having a greater international involvement in world affairs. It's almost like people are saying we can't just turn our back, we can't look the other way, we have to be involved. The survey was released less than a day after the Trump administration ordered this massive strike, of course. Approximately 73% of registered voters questioned in a recent Fox News survey said they think Iran poses a real security threat to the U.S., not even thinking about the rest of the world, the security risk that it poses to Israel. Again, love to get your comments. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. As you can imagine, Democrats are just having a field day with criticism of President Trump
taking the action that he did over the weekend against Iran. Democrats are already calling for impeachment, of course, claiming that President Trump's order to attack is unconstitutional. So let's start with one of the leading Democrats, Bernie Sanders. The Vermont senator was delivering remarks at a Fighting Oligarchy rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Saturday when President Trump announced that the U.S. had successfully attacked 3 nuclear sites in Iran. You could see the senator at the lectern giving his speech when an aide interrupted him, put a piece of paper in front of him, and walked away. You could see the senator standing there with this look on his face. And then he read the message that he had just been handed. And it was the post that President Trump had just posted on Truth Social that said, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan." Sanders read the piece of paper with Trump's Truth Social post to his supporters, shaking his head as a socialist senator processed what the president had just announced. As the crowd starts chanting, "No more wars, no more wars." Trump added in the post, "All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter," he said. Sanders nodding along as the crowd continued to chant, "No more wars," before responding to the news in real time. He said the news was not only alarming, but was so grossly unconstitutional.
This is a statement from Donald Trump, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran," etc. And I want to tell you something. Not only is this news that I've just heard this second alarming, that all of you have just heard, but it is so grossly unconstitutional. All of you know that the only entity that can take this country to war is the U.S. Congress. The president does not have the right
Wow. I mean, this is just crazy that you'd have a U.S. senator criticizing the president, talking about how he has taken action that is unconstitutional immediately following a strike like this. Now, maybe you don't disagree with it, but there's a place that you do that. You don't allow the rest of the world, you don't allow Iran to hear you criticize. I mean, some of the Democrats, and we're going to get into it, they're calling for impeachment already, of course. Senator Sanders joins the bipartisan coalition in Congress who have called out the unconstitutionality of Trump striking Iran without congressional approval. Now, he did run this by the Republican members or the Republican leadership of Congress. Of course, he's not going to call Bernie Sanders and ask Bernie for permission to take this action. Of course, he's not going to let Nancy Pelosi know what he's about to do, because they'd blow the whole mission. They'd run to the media. But back to this bipartisan war powers resolution, which was introduced in the House of Representatives last week, as strikes between Israel and Iran were imminent.
The War Powers Resolution seeks to, quote, remove United States armed forces from unauthorized hostilities in the Islamic State of Iran and directs President Trump to terminate the deployment of American troops against Iran without an authorized declaration of war or specific authorization for use of military forces against Iran. Of course, they want the president to come to them for ask for permission. It goes on to say the American people do not want more war, more death. Senator Sanders says it might be a good idea if we concentrated on the problems that exist in Oklahoma and Vermont rather than getting involved in another war that the American people do not want. More on those war powers in just a moment and the resolution. Sanders told the crowd not to give up on their vision for America's future. He's been a very vocal opponent of the U.S. joining Israel in its war against Iran, of course. If Donald Trump says it's black, he says it's white. He opposes anything that Donald Trump wants to do. Sanders said on social media earlier this week, Netanyahu is not the president of the United States. Well, really, Senator? Of course he's not. We understand that. The Democrat Socialist has been a vocal opponent of both Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's war against Gaza, and, of course, with any involvement that President Trump has had. Now, the senator's tour targets deep red districts currently held by Republicans, a strategy picked up by Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, who hosted town halls in Republican congressional districts and the Democrat National Committee through their people's town halls across the U.S. Sanders has held a rally. He held one in House Speaker Mike Johnson's hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, last weekend. Other Democrat members of Congress are also vocal. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the New York Democrat bartender, ripped President Trump for his military attack against Iran on Saturday, saying that the move is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. She's ready to impeach him. She posted on X, the president's disastrous decision to bomb Iran without authorization is a grave violation of the Constitution and congressional war powers. He has impulsively risked launching a war that may ensnare us for generations. It is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. Wonder how AOC felt about Joe Biden supporting the war between Ukraine and Russia. Has she been supportive of that? And the billions of dollars that Joe Biden gave to his Ukraine buddies? Not quite sure about that. Not all Democrats agree. In contrast with AOC and Sanders and others, fellow Democrat Senator John Fetterman, he praised the attack, saying that it was the correct move. He said, Iran is the world's leading sponsor of terrorism and cannot have nuclear capabilities. I am grateful and salute the finest military in the world. Fetterman has maintained a staunch pro-Israel stance throughout the wars with Iran and Hamas, sometimes putting him at odds with members of his own party. But hey, he understands what we have to do in order to keep ourselves safe. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican from Georgia, has called out Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for her criticism of President Trump. Greene wrote on X, formerly Twitter, of course, that Ocasio-Cortez, who had said Saturday's attack was absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment, she said, what a pathetic little hypocrite. Greene continued, you fully supported our military and IC running the proxy war against Russia and Ukraine, like I suspected. You don't get to play anti-war and moral outrage anymore. So what is this so-called bipartisan war powers resolution? Within minutes of President Trump's announcement of the attack on Iran, you had Representative Ro Khanna from California and Thomas Massey from Kentucky, both co-sponsors of the War Powers Resolution, immediately accusing the president of violating the Constitution. They think that he should have to get permission from them before he can take any action like this going forward.
Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. As we learned of the strike on late Saturday night and kind of unpacked and digested what next steps may be throughout the day yesterday, one of the stories that really got my attention is how pizza told the story before the actual media did. This may be the strangest, yet I guess maybe somehow the most accurate intelligence tool since the Cold War. The Pentagon Pizza Report. Are you familiar with it? This is a social media account that doesn't rely on classified documents, doesn't have satellite imagery, doesn't have a whistleblower leaking information, but tracks pizza delivery patterns around the Pentagon. And somehow, against all logic, it's been ahead of two major military actions in the last 2 weeks. And Saturday night, it struck again. Just minutes before President Donald Trump took to social media to announce that a U.S. airstrike on 3 Iranian nuclear sites had been a success, the Pentagon Pizza Report flagged, quote, high activity at a local Papa John's near the Pentagon. Now, if you're not familiar with this, you're probably thinking this is a joke. And look, I did too initially, until it started predicting war with an uncanny accuracy. I mean, I thought maybe a couple of weeks ago that it was just a fluke. So here's what we know. Saturday night, the U.S., of course, launched a precision strike against 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities. According to President Trump's announcement, when he spoke to the nation on Saturday night, a full payload of bombs was dropped on Fordow, which is Iran's most heavily fortified uranium enrichment site, buried deep beneath a mountain. This was a strategic strike. It was calculated. It was a message that the United States will not tolerate a nuclear Iran. But before any official word came out, before even rumors hit the cable news networks, the Pentagon Pizza Report tweeted this: high, in all caps, high activity is being reported at the closest Papa John's to the Pentagon. They followed that up with a second post saying that Freddy's Beach Bar, a longtime Pentagon haunt evidently, was unusually quiet for a Saturday night. Then they posted this: classic indicator for potential overtime at the Pentagon. And sure enough, overtime at the Pentagon was indeed happening. American warplanes were in the air. Military command centers were lighting up, and moments later, the president confirmed it all. Now, this isn't just some funny internet moment. This is a metaphor for how broken our traditional systems of information have become. When everyday Americans can get more accurate real-time military indicators from a Domino's delivery data report, or from Papa John's, or some guy who's watching pizza deliveries, than CNN or MSNBC or any of the other networks, we've got a credibility crisis on our hands with the media, right? It didn't stop there, though. Roughly half an hour before President Trump's national address, the Pizza Report posted again, this time flagging a huge traffic surge at the Domino's near MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, home of CENTCOM. Now, CENTCOM, in case you've forgotten, is the nerve center for U.S. military operations in the Middle East. Now, think about that. The Pentagon lights are on, pizza ovens are fired up, military staff working late, all while Washington's official channels remain stone silent. The pizza shops know before the press. And this is where we are in 2025. And here's the bigger picture, okay? President Trump didn't just make a decision. Again, he made a statement, a bold statement to the entire world. After years of Iranian aggression, from enriching uranium to supplying Hamas to threatening our allies, President Trump ordered a direct hit. He's given them plenty of time to solve this diplomatically. Iran wanted to be the bad guy. Iran wanted to stand up, not just to Israel, but to the U.S. So Trump orders the hit, not on militias, not on outposts, but on nuclear facilities, the crown jewels of the Iranian regime's power. And the reaction? Deafening silence from the Biden-aligned media class. The same people who spent 4 years calling Trump a warmonger, the same people who called the Soleimani strike provocative, now they barely mention it. They're too busy fact-checking the pizza tracker. Now, for those of you asking, is this legit? Well, let's just rewind. 10 days ago, before Israel launched its strike on Iranian missile sites, the same account posted elevated pizza activity near the Pentagon. That tweet went viral, mocked by some, but noticed by a lot of us. Then, boom, Israel launched its first wave of precision airstrikes. That's twice now. I don't think it's a coincidence, do you? This is about patterns. And you know, previous actions can predict future actions. Intelligence isn't always about secrets. Sometimes it's about recognizing rhythms. When the Pentagon is ordering 30 pizzas at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night, you got to believe something may be happening, right? So yes, while MSNBC is still wondering whether Trump's True Social account is legitimate presidential communication, the rest of the country is watching Papa John's for early warnings. Look, I know this is serious, but it is kind of humorous, isn't it? That a pizza social media account can predict something like this while CNN's asleep. And here's what really bothers the media. The Pentagon pizza report kind of makes them look silly, doesn't it? Because it's not just that the account is funny. It's that it's been right, while the so-called experts have been wrong, distracted, or just late on the story. The Pentagon pizza report is not a joke. It's a warning signal, a sign of how badly the establishment media has failed. When humor accounts outpace CNN, that's not a punchline. It may be CNN's obituary. So where do we go from here? We have three takeaways. Trump isn't bluffing. The strike was bold, targeted, loud. The press isn't paying attention. They were caught up in identity politics and TikTok diplomacy. They've missed the build-up to a full-on strike against Iran's nuclear infrastructure. They missed it big time. And people are paying attention, whether it's through pizza shops, Reddit threads, or Substack posts. Americans are finding ways to stay informed outside of the legacy filter. This is a decentralized revolution. And yes, it's kind of funny that it involves extra cheese and pepperoni, but it's also inspiring because truth will find a way. That's the world we live in. Social media helps us keep up to date. I mean, look, President Trump uses it himself. His True Social network is a direct communication tool to the American people. It's a world where common sense, pattern recognition, and yes, pizza receipts are more reliable sometimes than press briefings. And maybe that's not such a bad idea after all, because in the end, it reminds us of something that we've always known deep down. The American people are smarter than the media gives them credit for. They don't need polished headlines. American people don't need spoon-fed narratives. They just want the truth. And ask yourself this: who told you about the strike first? The Pentagon press room or Papa John's Pizza? That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com. And I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.